Hello, hello, hello. You're straight on with the questions. I like it. Wonderful to see you. One more minute, and we're venturing into some sort of meditation together. Wonderful to see you all. All right. So the humming will will happen at another time. Maybe there will come out some music where I'm humming, or maybe just singing. No. So hello, everyone. And I think we're actually just going to roll it now, so we don't have a lot of time sitting here. Yes. Wonderful. Yes. So first off, very happy to be here with you. And as you've probably seen on the offering of the link, it might be one of the last, if not the last, free online streaming that I will be doing for this round. More events will come, and all of you are, of course, welcome to that you're welcome to join different events. That might be something like where you can engage for a week, maybe 3 times in a week or something, to really go for a deepening week now that you actually have the time and opportunity for it. I'm also turning a little bit this women's weekend that we were supposed to have the first weekend in May. And that's a little sad that was passed on as a live event. So maybe I will for now do an online version, and then we'll in the fall or whenever possible, but soon, have the real weekend. But anyway, back to this event. And yes, I think we're there's a lot of wonderful messages coming in and questions and things, and I'll be scrolling in that a little later. But for now, I would like to invite you to sit yourself, and let's just do a little rooting of consciousness into our bodies, and a little rooting in being. So inviting you to sit yourself in a way where you can sit without exhausting any muscles or anything like this. If possible, I invite you to put your feet on the ground. So instead of sitting feet up, to actually sit with your feet on the ground, chair, sofa, whatever makes sense to you. I invite you to place your arms gently down, gathered around the belly, and they are invited to point up somewhat. And then let's just allow for this grand reception, this in-depth landing into the ground. And I'm not even going to pretend that we're doing this as a point traveling somewhere, because you're not. You're not any kind of point. You can open yourself fully and totally in this moment, just with that yes, to receive from every part of yourself, every part of your being, and to simply allow yourself to open the entire body. Open it upwards, open it outwards. Allow your cells to become receptive to the totality of what you're meeting here in our meeting. Whether you want to have your eyes open or closed is up to you. But if you keep your eyes open and looking at the screen, you will probably perceive on more layers in the reception than with eyes closed, just for this time, just for right now. Now you can let eternity land in you. You can let eternity land in you. You can let yourself land in eternity, endlessness, right now. You don't have to protect yourself from this endlessness. It is, in fact, the very basis of your existence. It's the ground of your being. And that all of that in you, which is really worth being with. The silence of you comes from this endlessness, the reality of who you truly are. Your return to this is, of course, what puts every part of your life into a new perspective. And not only because that eternity, fundamentally speaking, is the background of everything you touch. It always is. But the more that you make yourself aware of that, the more you root yourself in that base of being, in that endlessness. The more obvious it will be and the more possible it will be to touch every single aspect of your living life and to hold that up against the eternity so that it becomes nothing, in the sense that it becomes a place, another place where eternity can breathe in and out of. So anywhere where you have challenge, anywhere where you have resolution waiting, is a place where your knowing of eternity in it is not yet in place. It is something to you. So let your cells breathe. Allow for letting go. Allow for an alignment with what is reaching you right now. An alignment which reminds you of this eternity. It's beautiful when the eternity is always the background of everything. Of course, this requires your realization, your recognition, your rooting in being. But nothing is lost there. Find the sweetness of being human is such a sweet shimmering layer right on top. It's not a loss of intimacy. If anything, it's the eternal returning home to your deeply intimate experience of yourself, and thereby such a deep, deep owning of your human experience in a way that brings the sweetness to it, because there is eternal appreciation of it also. And let your cells breathe. Let your cells open. Opening your mind. Opening your heart. Opening your belly. And simply letting your arms and your legs follow. There's beauty right here, dear friends. There's your beauty. It ain't the kind of me created by your mind. It's the real you. The real you. You can allow yourself to actually breathe through the entire body right now. God is closer than you can ever imagine. The deepest intimacy of your experience with life, with yourself. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your heart. Open your heart. Relax and open your heart. Open your belly. Open your belly. Open your belly, your pelvis. Very good. Just belongs there though. Yeah. I'm gonna go a little with the questions now. How to heal the wound of not being welcomed, belonging, and not feeling safe and matter. I think it's something with falling so deeply in love with ourselves that we know that we belong. We belong with ourselves. We belong with God. But then to find God in and through matter. The wound of not feeling welcome. I think it's something with moving yourself beyond caring what people think. It's something with finding such inner strength and sureness about the fact that you are worthy of your own love and thereby of love in itself. And it's not about loving the contraction, it's about loving it's about loving God. It's about loving life. It's about loving yourself. And inside of that, if I'm to share my own experience in terms of the being welcome thing, well, now it's kind of different because, yeah, I mean, people are scared of her. So on some levels, I always feel where people are rejecting themselves, you know? So even though there is an overall welcome present, and even if there wasn't, I can only say, why would I want to be where I'm not welcome? Like, what kind of self-love is that? But then at the same time, I can say that people's welcome is less significant to me than ever. And simply because the part of loving myself creates an anchor of love down through my body. It's being present with myself. And in that, any additional love is a gift. And any not that, it just doesn't matter. It's like water off a duck's back. But in terms of healing the wound of it, you're going to have to feel all of the ways in which you don't feel welcome, all of the ways in which, like the different statements that are happening in your body. And somehow simply to be present with every aspect of whatever wound appears in you, including this. The how to heal any wound is always be present through the feelings that it invokes, the pain that it invokes inside. And know that the gift of being rejected is always happening as an invitation for you to face a deeper rejection of yourself. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, feeling safe in matter. I'd say the feeling safe in matter is never about what's going on around so much. It's like the not feeling safe in matter is more of an invoking of the basic fear of surrender than anything else. The basic fear of meeting our own pain in that. And in terms of feeling safe in matter on an outside level, I'd say that nothing, if you are with yourself, if you are resting deeply in being and in life, then actually there is no such thing as not feeling safe, in the sense that the part of being present with yourself and the part of trusting life and the part of listening to yourself and then somehow letting life happen as it does when you naturally take care. There is actually nothing else to consider, is there? The feeling safe part comes down to how you look at life. Comes down to, if we are afraid of surrendering, then we're afraid of existence, and thereby we're afraid of everything. Yeah. Anyway, there was some few words on that. Mm-hmm. How to offer my life fully on the altar of the dark light. Yes. Well, two aspects of that. For one, you're going to have to deal with the peeling down and the becoming naked into the very core of your human core wounding. That's one aspect. That's where all of the resistance and the self-protection takes place. And then there's a part of meeting her. There's the part of meeting the force of creation. There's the part of meeting the black light. And to say it straight, most people are terrified of her. I, for one, the initial steps into that meeting, it was involved meeting terror as the first thing. But that's exactly the point, that somehow that walking into and fully surrendering to the black light, it includes a breaking down of the barriers that we're holding up between dark and light. A breaking down of the barriers between good and bad. And that's bloody scary for us. It is scary, because to meet all of that which we are not agreeing to see about ourselves, that's tricky business. And it basically means that we have to grow as love into the ground. So how to offer my life fully on the altar of the dark light? Yeah, the work in terms of core wounding and a moving from fear of to acceptance to okay to appreciation and all the way over to falling in love with the black light. And the process of that from terror to falling in love with, that is a process wherein we need to meet her directly through our being. We need to invite her, we need to embrace her, we need to agree to receive her inside. And for every time that we are taken home by her, and when I say home, I mean back into the very womb of existence. For every time we're taken in there, for one, you leave all strategies at the door. You leave control at the door. You lay your weapons at the door. You lay all of your protections at the door. And then you pass through. And then you are wrapped in dark black light. And it requires a deep trust in God, in life. And the thing is that to start with, it can seem like we need to manifest a lot of drama to actually enter into that gateway of that meeting with her. Frankly speaking, if we minimize the drama and move ourselves to the surrender, and I know I make it sound very easy, but the thing is actually that to start with, there might be terror, but when we learn to be with the feelings that it is invoking to have that meeting with her, the deeper and deeper meeting, where we are getting peeled more and more. For every time we're spat out, we have a deeper inner knowing of her. So from the terror point and all the way to falling in love, we're taken into her as the core again and again and again and again and again and again as we move over this spectrum from terror to completely surrendered to and fallen in love with. So at this point of the spectrum, the meeting with her becomes very dramatic because we are, as a race at least, not extremely conscious, So when that meeting is to happen, when the terror arises, if we're not holding our meeting with her quietly, if we're not studying, reminding ourselves that this is what's going on, then of course it can turn into a lot of drama on the outside. Like we cause a lot of fuss, basically. And it's not needed. And this is a part of while I'm here sitting and speaking with you, to actually let you know and show you that there's nothing to be afraid of. And the thing is, of course, that the drama happens out of fear. So, yeah. But as we keep on deepening deeper and deeper with her, we will fall deeper and deeper in love with her. And as we allow that falling in love, we are placing ourselves directly on the altar. But it requires us to leave, as I said, the defenses, the self-protections, the strategies, the control. The oppositions. To take responsibility for our resistance. To clear and clean our inner space. so that there is room for her arrival. Mm-hmm. Well, one little extra aspect on that is, of course, that the invitation here is for us to step in and fully embrace the change that comes with her arrival in our lives. And not only that, but that we fully take on the humility that is needed, and let ourselves be humbled over and over and over in the meeting with her. And simply because there is no room for arrogance, for disagreement with being present with your own pain in that meeting with her. There just isn't. You can rise as the objection, the disagreement, all of this is going to make no difference. The only one you will be torturing is basically yourself. And then in the end, you're going to have to surrender anyway. So, yeah. So that's how it moves with her. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. Whoa. Questions? Mm-hmm. How to be a sweet little baboon that is happy to exist, in love with life and not afraid. Well, are you calling me a baboon? No. I'd say that the return to innocence is very much a part of the letting go of the control and all of this. But there are also aspects of the cultivation which requires, like, maybe on this level, there is a playful human, but deeper and deeper into the depths of your own being, you're going to have to find and turn over every stone to align with the level of responsibility that comes with life itself. In terms of the fear that you're mentioning, I don't know, we tend to take ourselves too seriously, you know? We do have an option here. If there is fear, then there's fear. And then it's your job to be compassionate with yourself and not to look for a way to reject or disagree with your own fear, but to keep moving with life and allow there to be fear. It's not really up to you. I'm speaking about exactly that humility of being present with what is. And if there's fear, there's fear. Great. Then you keep moving. And you allow yourself to keep moving. And you allow yourself to be with the joys that your life brings, and also to deal with what the existence of fear creates in your body. The only thing you don't do is to let the fear control you. So overall, I'd say that in terms of the happy to exist, in love with life and not afraid, I'm experiencing that happens when you start living love, and you do it so fully that you actually realize yourself to be love itself, because in that moment it's just very obvious that there is nothing to be afraid of. Yeah, basically. It's like, how can you be, what is there to be afraid of if you're everything, in a way? Yeah. First time meeting you. I'm curious about who you have studied with on your journey to self. I have had a 20-year-long radical journey. I started out with God realization as the divine masculine, as in the emptying of the heart, the diamond heart. And I haven't had any teachers on this level. I've had a great deal of teachers on the subtle planes of existence. And I've never really sought out these teachers. And not because there's anything wrong with that, but more because my ability to swallow up just means, there has been a larger scope of the unfolding of my being for 20 years. So something like a master has appeared and there's a merging with that master. Or actually there's always a preparation period first. There's a meeting first, and then I'm shown where I'm being moved next by this being, like held up against mine. Kind of like mine is held up against yours right now. And then there's a preparation time. There has been preparation time where I basically purify enough to be reliable, to hold the teachings. And the realization, the recognition, the depth of realization. And then there has been a merging with the master. And this has happened over and over. And I've had maybe, sometimes there has been 5 days in between where I was like, oh, now that was over, that, oh, now it's quite nice. And then 5 days after, there's the next one. And it seems like the teachers, it has been very specifically, funnily enough, the Dzogchen lineage of Buddhism. And it's not because I have had anything to do with Buddhism in this life on a hands-on level. I haven't been reading books or been in contact with anyone really, but all of the teachers, the masters, the Buddhas that has appeared and has been integrated into my being. It's been like a gradual stepping up that lineage there, and they just pop up. I don't even really know who they are when they appear, but then it's obvious later, of course. But so it's been a journey from Jawal Kool was the first, and he was there during, especially now you asked about journey to self, the self-realization as the heart, self here, yes, the masculine, but the feminine self is down, and that's another thing. And then there is truth realization, which is up on the first floor. And Jawal Kool was available for 1.5 years during the self-realization of the heart. And then I had Longchenpa as a teacher for, I don't know. Yeah, it took me 1.5 years almost to get ready for that guy. He was very... But then, then sitting in solitary retreat for 2.5 years. And working with him. And then after that, I've merged with Yeshe Tsogyal. And when I had been merging with her, then I got access to her master, which is Padmasambhava. And him I am still with. And I probably will be for another 10, 11 years. Or 10.5 years, as far as I can see. So that was a little about me. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so there's a longer one here. I'm touching an empty core, a kind of tube channel in myself these days. And every time I'm touching the not moving core, what I call my body starts spinning like a vortex. My sweet fixation on mind level is trying to figure out if the physical body is safe in the letting go even deeper into this core and stronger movement at the same time. Could you speak about this and the alignment of all dimensions? Mm-hmm. Well, as you already know, I facilitate exactly that alignment of realization, of recognition of source through all dimensions of being. But when we're meeting the core deeper, it seems like there is one aspect of realization which is easy for us, there is one which is harder, and then there's the one that is the hardest. And for many women, the truth realization, the emptying of the mind, is the hardest part. For men, the embrace of the ground and the realization of her often is the hardest part. When we start approaching and touching deeper into the core of these most tricky aspects of being, we're going to experience various ways in which our bodies react, whether that be filled with fear or whatever it is. What is needed is, of course, that we take full responsibility for ourselves in this deepening. And that means basically that that body that starts spinning, in that moment, it needs to be rooted into that core. It needs to be brought into the silence. And to take responsibility in that moment is to stop and to drop, to let that happen. So the part of the body spinning, the mind racing, and all of this, that is simply that which awaits for you to take responsibility for holding yourself and guiding yourself into that core silence. What we can do in this is to investigate our patterns. And as we see these patterns, there is a step onwards to love ourselves more when these patterns arrive, to actually love ourselves enough to stop ourselves when these patterns start taking place. So instead of just watching from a distance and letting things spin off, that you actually, when the moment that you see anything that starts moving out of like incoherently with your deepening, to actually take responsibility for stopping yourself and to bring yourself to that silence kindly, but with center. Kindly, but strongly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel called, to follow beauty This also means outer beauty found in the classic arts. What is this calling to beauty? Is pursuing outer beauty vanity or a call to her? Yes. Yeah, it's a funny thing. It is, of course, a surface response to a deeper longing. I gotta say that there are levels which are waiting to be brought into that joy of beauty. There is a purification of our perception of what beauty is as well. So the beauty in our surroundings, it's all really wonderful, and it's a great gift for and as a reflection back to ourselves of the perfection. So there's something with the joy of taking care, of manifesting beauty, of allowing that manifestation of beauty to reflect back to you and bring joy into your human life, while you also are from the inside at the same time engage in the birth of beauty as your center, as yourself. But beauty is the manifestation of God on ground. Beauty as an alignment between inner and outer. The recognition that there is no inner and outer. But then also on every other level than where there is beauty, to acknowledge and bring every layer and every level into that beauty, into that alignment with God, into that surrender, to find real beauty there. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. When you speak about pursuing outer beauty, I'm not really sure. Now you talk about the classic arts, but pursuing outer beauty. I mean, I kind of find it to be one of the games we play, one of the joys of approximation, one of the joys of expressing, one of the joys of appreciating when something is truly manifested from that nobodiness that is the case when beauty itself slides into form. The emptiness that is there when true beauty is created. The nobodiness that is there when true beauty is created. And that is, of course, when there's no one home and birth into arts happen in a way that really touch us. It's because it touches the most basic fundamental strings of our existence. And that is amazing, of course. That is pure celebration. I don't see it to be vanity as such. If we start using that as a distraction from actually diving into and deepening in through our own levels and layers where we have not been meeting and birthing beauty. Yeah, and actually becoming a manifestation of beauty through allowing the emptying out of ourselves. If we start pursuing beauty, looking for God in the outside, that is not the best way. But to enjoy it in between everything else, I mean, I can only say that that's pure celebration, really. Yeah. Lately, I feel a strong kind of frustration, like something which wants to manifest itself into the world. But I can't say exactly what it is about. Can you tell something about that kind of frustration? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, when life force starts to rise and arrive, it can make like in the human body, it can translate to different kinds of feelings. And we can smollen ourselves by disowning these feelings. But the rising of frustration, I find, can happen when either on a human level, that there is something which isn't completely clicking into place yet. And in that moment, the absolute best thing to do is to allow yourself to be frustrated. Because to stay in the frustration and when action wants to happen, to then take action, that is simply, the frustration itself is like a vehicle. It brings you from the knowing of, okay, so there's something that wants to be born, and then you feel frustrated, and then there's like another side of that frustration where all of a sudden things become clear. But the frustration itself is more like an inner, like things are moving, and that can on a human level translate into frustration. But actually, if we look at the sensory level, it's something else going on. So yeah, there's total beauty in frustration, really. And also sometimes when we can't figure out something, like can't get this or that to really click and all of this, the part of being dissatisfied, the part of being with it, not to go mental and sit and try and figure it out on a mental level, but being with the this doesn't really fit kind of thing, that actually moves things, and then all of a sudden there's access. So yeah, wonderful. Enjoy. Looking forward to see the result of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I keep going, I want to just invite you to and remind you to keep your body open, to deeply and fully allow yourself to open the cells of your body, from your fingers and to your toes, your lips, ears and tongue, the inside of your head, your mind, your heart, the inside of your chest. Deepest part of your belly, of your genitals, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have for years experienced a sense of pressure in my face and lower abdomen. Both are accentuated during meditation. Is there anything I can do to cooperate with releasing these? Well, let's say that the key word here is surrender. And the pressure inside is what happens when there isn't a giving in happening. So any rise of pressure is always, always an invitation to deeper integration, to deeper surrender. So there is something with sitting yourself down and letting this work which wants to happen between your mind and your belly, to let that, to hold it, and then to actually let go from the core of the contraction which holds and thereby creates the pressure. There's something which giving in that someone, and to allow yourself to surrender, to let go, so that your perception can expand inside of your being. And it may cause like fire in your head and fire in your belly, or it quite accurately will actually. But the pressure that happens is always about giving way and giving way and giving way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Dear Aisha, my question is how to deal with the knowing of sexual abuse when I just come to realize that something happened, and how to not make it into something and yet not push it away again, but dealing and acknowledging. I know in practice being present, down with it, and hope you might have some words to it. Yeah, there is something to developing the space of your being in a way as to kind of penetrate yourself and let yourself sink into, like, be with it and let it open, and then be with whatever it invokes in you. But it is like you have to do that with no background. You can't touch this with believing in it. So there is something with the recognition of reality. There is something with the recognition of truth and the empty nature of all things that needs to take place. For you to cultivate space to make you able to be with this without believing in, you have to basically blow up your belief system and to somehow let go through this imaginary background of me, so that the door opens for you to fall into, to be present with, and keep on allowing that deeper drop down through it, wherein the experience itself gets hollowed out by the meeting of the pain of it, and meeting the memories and things like this. Yeah. To not make something out of anything requires you to acknowledge, to recognize the non-truth of whatever you're touching. And that means actually that reality as truth realization must be involved. And it's a significant part of coming to know and of disappearing, to lose that background. Mm. Mm. Sometimes you talk about the importance of full surrender, and sometimes about taking full responsibility, how to understand these contradicting approaches and apply this in life. Yeah, that's the funny part. They aren't actually contradicting. To fully surrender is to allow the giving over of your body, is to allow yourself to be emptied into the hands of life. And when it's the recognition through the head, to allow yourself to be delivered into pure emptiness. And when you're delivering through the belly, to allow yourself to be delivered into the hands of pure black light, of pure passion as well. And especially when we talk about embracing the ground and the power of creation, it comes with the responsibility as the sense of, if you see, we have life, and then there's like the free will as these two rims on the outside, right? So from our free will, it is our responsibility to live according to our highest knowledge. That doesn't mean to grasp the highest knowledge and make it into something. It means to live the deepest surrender from even those parts where we have a free choice. And in the meantime, to surrender to life as the 95%, if not more, which is the entire valley of our being, the entire valley of existence itself. That requires just pure surrender. And the pure surrender also means that that life wants to rush in the sense of moving through and deleting some things and bringing other things to life. And it's our responsibility to not let fear stop us, for instance, that we are so bowing to life that when life wants to move up and do whatever it needs to do through us, in that moment we allow for that getting up. So you see, if we are afraid of what life does, then we hold back. But surrender isn't always, or in some phases it is, in other phases it's not, but equal to collapse. Surrender is allowing, but sometimes it is equal to collapse and sometimes it's not. And the part of what surrender means in each moment is about where you are in your journey. And that comes down to the listening. So surrender on one hand, the listening and respecting what we hear in the other hand. So our conscious free will side can become extremely humble too, and thereby this is taking responsibility. Not taking responsibility is to stand with the continued manipulation of our conscious side from our wanting side. That place where our responsibility is to become humble. Our responsibility is to bow ourselves. Our responsibility is to allow for the investigations, allow for the development of our being, and so on and so forth, and for the birth of wisdom, and so on and so forth. It's not something we can do apart from this. But in the face of this, we can choose to be humble, and this is taking responsibility. But taking responsibility also brings in the surrender that more and more does like this. So this is where we're hollowed out, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that is not a question as such, but hello everyone. Amazing times lately, no? And yeah, wow, I'd say it's amazing. It's beautiful, incredibly beautiful. And to see that it's like a sword edge where there's harmony on one side and there's complete meeting with death on the other side. Yeah, wow, it's beautiful. It's totally beautiful. Mm-hmm. And there's one that says, Javal, cool. Are you familiar with Catherine Bean Wieser's work? No, I'm not. I actually, I have very little to do with what's actually moving in terms of that on this level. I have meetings with different masters. Somehow we cross paths and we end up in exchange. Like there's an obvious coming together for copying between the beings. It's really beautiful. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I answered this before about the spinning from Mira, and you're just clarifying. My physical body is completely still, not moving, like a rock sitting in silence, so grounded. It is an energetic vortex spinning like Rishi and this empty core. Yes, this is something quite different. This is why I want to just finish that one off. Yeah, so basically the realization of her, it moves itself towards the recognition of yourself as the very vortex, as the center of the vortex, which is just black, empty silence, right? What is the middle of a vortex? So in recognition, realization of the feminine, we go through, we have to basically go through the storm to come into the center of recognizing and realizing that vortex. The realization as the vortex is what is at the end of that journey. And basically that's her. And somehow the increase of craziness, the spinning that happens, is like the closer that you come to the vortex, the more intense it is, like around there. And at some point, arriving at the center of that vortex is where realization happens, where recognition happens, and to say it straight, things stop spinning. Yeah. A deep inner knowing of and as I am she. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dear Aisha, thank you for your teaching, which really helps me in these times. I was wondering why sometimes I feel like I can't access my belly and the warmth that is resting in its depth. Yes, well, to say it straight, to come to rest fully in the belly, we need to expand our awareness of what is present or what is existing in that depth. And this is about if there are aspects of your feeling system which you won't feel whenever you open in ways where you can't be present with yourself, where there's still some kind of arrogance present in within the perception, within the mind, before you come to the agreement of being fully present with every aspect of yourself in that ground, then that part of coming in will be interrupted in waves of where more pain opens up, for instance. Then the consciousness can go whoop, and it moves up and out. And in that moment, it's like, okay, so there has been a movement. So then we actually have to return ourselves to the humility of descending once again and being present with. So the part of working ourselves out of the inner conditioning, the inner wound of abandonment, is simply about coming in and choosing to stay put. It's about coming in and growing in your capacity, in the reality of you as space on ground, in ground, in a way where you can be with whatever it looks like in that depth. And it's of course obvious that you need to really meet every aspect of yourself as this human, to fully embrace and become the entire scope of human feeling. Because if you have any objection towards any aspect of yourself as human, in ground, on ground, then there is the next invitation for consciousness to go whoop up again. So we're all in the purification of consciousness, moving towards the inner marriage. And the inner marriage is that which happens when we have worn down our inner tendency to object to any part of existence. So as the masculine, as love, as presence, we've come in and we've come to stay. So we don't come in and we pop out again. We come in, we root, we anchor, and we stay. And in that moment, something else happens. The feminine is going to try you out, left and right. As long as you're not sure that you're here to stay, she's going to make another twist to try you out. But the moment that you are there to stay, then her attempts, her checking you out, stops happening. And in that moment, the feminine lands softly into the palm of the masculine inside. The masculine being your consciousness, your love. The feminine being your human body starting to open and to blossom in different ways, where all of the pain of your own self-rejection, the separation, the abandonment, that has been worked out of the system. But we have a lot of pain to meet, the pain connected with our own self-rejection of that inner merging, of that balance between our masculine and our feminine. So, yeah, something like that. Can you say a bit more about the development of the empty nature of all things? Yes. Well, for one, I want to invite you to move on aishasalem.com and read the article called Purification of Mind. Find it on the teachings page. Then under it has the 3 dimensions of being under an overarch of radical compassion. And one of them is pure awareness. The pure awareness realization, the truth realization. When you click under it, it says read more. Then there's a list of different articles that you can go in and read. And as you read these, specifically focus on the one called Purification of Mind, because it's about the breaking down of the belief system. It's about emptying your head towards the nature and the reality of pure being in the head, and of the recognition of the empty nature of all things. Yeah. But it's, of course, about truth realization. Mm. And there's a comment here that I feel like commenting on. Oh, we don't have too many minutes left here. I'm going to see if I can, yeah. Energy of life and black light. Seems there is a very subtle difference. Definitely is. I would say energy of life. Life as the recognition of pure life in the sense of love. I have found to be the drop of, through all of these layers in the heart sphere. All of the layers of identification with the body, with existence, identification with anything other than the true meeting with God. So there's something about the emptying out of these different layers of hierarchy of love, the hierarchy of loving, and to find our true nature as love through the heart. So life as such, yes, we have light there, right? And when we talk about the black light, we're basically talking about a coming together of our highest and our deepest. So the black light is born out of consciousness penetrating matter. And this is what I meant when I say that once we land into the ground and stay there, when we have proven ourselves to stay on ground as consciousness, as love, in this moment, it's kind of like when a sperm cell reaches the center of an egg, right? So that coming in, and of course also as we come in, every time we come in, it's gradual. It gives more birth to the black light. And the black light is actually born out of that meeting between consciousness and matter. So she is born out of the masculine as love and the feminine as matter, but the black light of being is the power of creation, which is in turn the mother of the mother, like the mother of Mother Earth, so to speak, right? So it's like when actually we allow for that merging and that penetration to happen, and when that sperm cell hits the center of the egg and it drops the tail, which is like the spoing back, in that moment, magic starts happening. In that moment, divinity starts manifesting as a manifestation of black light of being. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's another question about the black light. Maybe what I said defines it a little, but you ask about the experience of it. I can only say that in its strongest, it is like being a manifestation of pure power. Pure power, but pure passion. And it isn't someone powerful. It's a complete potency of all of the power of creation. So there is something with when experiencing that black light entering the body and letting go to it, it is really like it is shimmering blackness. It's like golden, golden black. I can't explain it in any other way. But basically, its difference from the emptiness, the still standing recognition of silence, the difference in it is that the black, the eternity of the absolute is merged into life itself, which is constant movement. So the experience inside is like being an eternal black ocean of constant movement, but not erratic in any way, but fully surrendered. And then in the allowing of those black waters to rise however the heck high they want to rise, as a part of how she wants to manifest through your being. And I find that those waves go higher and higher and higher as a manner of manifesting within your own being the total unity with the divine feminine as complete mastery. So of course there is a need, a demand for maturation through our minds, in the sense of being able to be reliable and silent and present with that power, with that passion, and also the full willingness to hold these waves completely with total surrender. Yeah, it's strong stuff. It's really, yeah, wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Wait, my tea. Yeah, I had an experience. I'm afraid that I feel stuck in a pattern of failure, and no amount of effort, breathing, practice, presence produces change or shifts in the mind. How to embody the invitation to transform this? I'd say the first place to look is to look in your deepest connection with and surrender to source. Instead of considering this a pattern of yours, then see where you're trying to move from. Instead of seeing it as a problem, look at it as an invitation. So it's not about trying from your disconnected from source place of trying, failure. I'm not really sure in which area you're talking about, but but you can't approach yourself as a problem. You can't do breathing practices and try to do from a place of considering yourself a problem. The invitation for you is to embrace truth. You have to care about truth, not about getting rid of a pattern. In that embrace of truth, all of the patterns are invited to dissolve. Yeah, but there are even deeper prospects here than trying to fix something you consider to be a problem. That is a very roundabout way. The invitation is for you to fall in love with reality, to fall in love with yourself. Mm. For me, the black light had texture like velvet and totally conscious. Yes, that's another thing I want to say, that it's kind of like total presence as the full concentration within the body, kind of like a total activation all the way into the center of the animal body, and really becoming alive in resting in and as that black light. Yeah. It's actually the best words to it is the experience is the most raw and naked meeting with life, as complete, fully focused, fully present attention, and not just a little bit, but with enormous strength, and then stronger and stronger and deeper that you surrender and receive that black light, basically. Yeah. Hey, we did it. Yes, wonderful. Thank you, all of you, for being present tonight. I invite the women that are here. If you feel like it, then join us on the 26th. There's a women's satsang for 3.5 hours with various inquiries and initiations and talks and stuff about she, and specifically the embrace of she through our feminine vehicles, bodies. Yes. Yes. Thank you, all of you, so much. And I'll see if I can hear that I have to put on another meeting for next Thursday. But if this is it for this time, then feel free to join me in the events that will become that will come on the table in the coming time. So much love to all of you. I appreciate you all so much, and thank you for taking care, and thank you for caring enough about yourselves and about the totality to show up tonight. Adieu. Take good care.